What's up, everybody? We're back again. I'm Kennedy. Lau's here. Lau, say hi.
Hey everyone. What's
See,
up?
I allowed him to speak. Um,
Yeah, you let the
um,
Asians speak.
that's a reference that only those of you who tune in regularly will get, of course. But Brandon will also be here soon. And today, we really want to talk about like Confederate monuments, monuments getting torn down, monuments getting removed, protests in response to the monuments, why the monuments were even there, and that some of that kind of stuff. And just I don't know, whatever else comes to mind, I guess. I think when a lot of people think about these Confederate monuments, they kind of have like a completely false idea in their head of where they come from, what they were designed to do. I mean, the whole history of the Confederacy has sort of been made up at this point. And if you want to find the real history, you have to go looking for it, because if you just kind of do a casual inspection and read people's like shitty blog posts with no sources or whatever and take it as fact, people are going to tell you lies about the Confederacy. They're going to tell you lies about why these statues exist, what they mean, what they stand for, what they represent. So, well, let's just dive right into like basically the origin of this stuff. So the Confederacy lasted 5 fucking years, folks. It was not a big deal, okay? It like your emo phase lasted longer than the Confederacy, Like I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could probably think of like dumb things in your life that you did for longer than 5 years. The Confederacy lasted 5 years, okay? So it's not this thing when people talk about heritage. They're talking about a phase that like their ancestors went through hundreds of years ago that they know nothing about. So where does this perception of the heritage and like the stories that we hear so often about states' rights and things like that, where do these come from? Is like your next question, right? Um, and they come from a deliberate attempt to rewrite history by rich Southerners who had lost power, because of like the changes that came from the ending of slavery and other things that changed, as a result of the Civil War in America. uh, that's like those are the people that did this. They did a deliberate campaign to pay for these statues. Who do you think paid for these statues? You think they just came out of nowhere? Somebody has to pay for this stuff. Somebody has to make this stuff real for it to happen. There has to be some motivating concept, and usually it's money in anything political. Um, and so these statues were bought and paid for, by these like rich Southerners who had lost out and who wanted to like basically keep black people down, and to maintain some level of social oppression and hierarchy and status that they had known before. Lau, you got anything you want to say about all that? I know you also have some
For
opinions about
sure.
these things.
I mean, this has been such a big issue that there's actually a Wikipedia page that that just kind of covers like basically the removal of Confederate monuments and statues. And I'll put a comment right here. And this article is like pretty substantial, pretty long. So I can add that, you know, from a standpoint of like power, if you can't exercise like direct power, um, then like the next best thing is like representational power, right? Like, so this is what these statues are. It's like it's supposed to express some kind of representational power, and that's how these Confederate statues kind of gain their power, right? Is through this kind of representation.
Right.
And whether or not that history is true, it's nonetheless it's not in it nonetheless remains the case that that these statues represent something, and and so that's what we're kind of dealing with, right? We're kind of dealing with representational power, and it looks like
Right.
Rachel is able to join us.
I'm back.
Hey, we're glad to have you.
In front of a racist ass statue yesterday.
Which is perfect because that's what we're here to talk about: racist ass statues.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of them, and there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be. And like Lau was saying, it's a representational kind of power. It is a sort of motivation of the idea of who's in charge here. Is like, you know, made through these like symbolic statements and things like that. And of course, all of this also helps to enforce these sort of systemic problems where everybody who is not a great white man is sort of erased from history and made less important. So that's what we're looking at when we look at these statues. You know, we're looking at these people weren't important at all. Again, the Confederacy lasted 5 years. It was a relatively pathetic movement by any measure. So these people on these statues, these people were not important. They held no real sway over history. You know, these like minor Confederate generals and things like that. These people are irrelevant, and yet when they are given a statue, it makes them seem relevant. It makes them seem like they were important, like they contributed something to the span of history, when in fact they just did not.
Yeah.
Garfield, literally more important than any Confederate fucking general in terms of the impact. You know, 1,000 years from now, when culture is being examined, Garfield will be much more important.
Yeah. We're gonna have statues of Garfield. Generals.
So yeah, when we talk about replacements for those statues, Garfield.
Yeah. My favorite. Some of y'all will already know this about me. I live and am from originally Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is like the largest contiguous piece of granite on the planet, and also home to the Confederate Memorial, where they literally just took a bunch of Confederate generals and defaced this like giant holy object with their ugly mugs. And there's actually been a movement for a long time to replace them with Outcast, which I want to state my unequivocal support for. Like,
that would be good.
Yeah, I think that
rock with that
the Outcast fellows would be just delightful in that position.
As soon as the topic of Confederate monuments was texted to me, I knew just immediately that I had to get as drunk as possible. So I took about 8 minutes to make myself a mimosa, drink it, then make another one, which I think is just a logical reaction. Confederate monuments, bad. I don't know if y'all thought I was going to have a hot take on that one.
I'm going to with the hottest takes.
Rachel will recall that I went to the Daughters of the Confederacy event and did like a whole thing about the lost cause, and that whole protest was very entertaining. So hopefully, are there people watching this? I know we have trolls on Twitch. I bet you we get one Twitch troll that was like, actually, there were lots of slaves that were really happy, and we've actually infringed on their rights. I promise you, before the end of the hour, they'll be like, why don't you let the black speak? And it'll be spelled BALKC or some shit like that. So just be ready.
I'm prepared for that today. I would love it. Bring it on, trolls. I'm into it. So I want to talk about, actually, though, I want to get away from Confederate statues just slightly onto a related subject and talk about some local news that's unfolding here where I am. For those of you who haven't heard yet, Albuquerque is kind of big news today because we had a very tragic incident at a protest last night. What's been going on is that there are some armed, like, white nationalist type militia groups that are fucking have been showing up to protests here, especially in the last like week. And they call themselves something stupid like the Civil Defense Group or something like that. And the cops have been calling these guys friendlies, like literally treating these guys like their pals, right? And these fucking militia guys have been getting increasingly violent and agitative at the protests. And at the protest last night, so New Mexico, as far as I know, doesn't have any Confederate monuments, or we might have like one. I was like hearing something about this, but in 2018, supposedly the last ones were removed by the new governor, and there weren't any left. But what we do have here are monuments to the conquistadors, which is a whole nother issue and something that is very like present in people's minds here. Something that people oh my God, is this true? The national news made it sound like some alt-right militia people saved the day and captured. No, that is not what happened. I am going to fucking I'm just going to get more and more upset as we go through this story. I can tell. So we do not have. Yeah, I can tell, Persona. I know what side you're on. You're good. So we do not have. Like I say, we do not have any Confederate monuments here, or maybe we have one. But we do have a number of statues celebrating conquistadors, such as a number of statues to Don Juan de Onate.
It's so blatant. It's so blatant.
A slightly different target demographic. I got it.
Yeah.
It's so blatant.
It's and I was gonna say it's literally the same shit in terms of these statues were put up way after the fact in order to exercise, the people. The like rich families of Spanish descent wanted to flex on the Native Americans and like just put up statues of these people that literally murdered and mutilated their people and were just completely unrepentantly awful. Like just nothing good about people like Don Juan de Onate. Just a complete shithead, fucking horrible person.
Personally, I'm very opposed to things like Chris Dorner statues, but if there were a situation that called for, anyway, moving on.
We can talk about Chris Dorner.
Like the Church of Satan will periodically just do ridiculous shit to troll like Christians who are overstepping the First Amendment. Hear me out on this. Like, what if we just start erecting monuments to people that fascists really hate?
Yeah, I think like John Brown's an obvious one, but I think we should go a little harder. We should really get under some skins with these statues.
Yeah, like Obama. They'll lose their fucking mind.
That's a good point. I think the Obama thing might have to be a little. Well, there are lots of libs that just worship Obama.
That's what I'm saying. It's doable.
How about a statue?
Statues immediately next to them, like literally, like.
What if we have Obama and Chris Dormer giving each other bro fists?
Also, they're slightly larger than the Confederate ones, like just a little bit bigger.
Oh, like, I was gonna have it. I was gonna have it a lot bigger. Like the Confederate. Like if we can't get rid of the Confederate statue, let's just put another one posted that's really big, like twice as high. So
and like right in front of it. So you have to walk around to see it.
Could it just be like that Calvin, like you see on the back of redneck trucks, just peeing on the Confederate statues?
That's pretty close. Mine was going to be a little bit more homoerotic, but your idea is also fine.
I mean, I pro homoeroticism in all forms, Brandon. You know this about me. It's why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is good.
So, okay, let's get serious though for a second, because this is what happened here last night is really like fucked up, and I want to talk about it. So, so people were protesting at one of these Don Juan de Onate statues because they need to fucking come down. They're a symbol of Native American oppression, and it's a thing that needs to end. It was a relatively peaceful protest. They were trying to destroy the statue. Take that as you fucking will, I guess. But to me, that's still a peaceful protest. Okay, go fuck yourself.
The property doesn't hurt anybody.
Right. The existence of this property does more harm than the people tearing it down. Let me just, if we're gonna go there in terms of like property and harm.
I don't think that's even a go there. I don't even think that's a hot take. I don't think that's any kind of take. I think that's just like
it shouldn't be a take, but I know that the Twitch trolls could show up at any minute.
I think Twitch is gonna stay low on this one. I think we'll see.
We'll see.
So
again, these fucking militias have been showing up to protest. And these guys, if you go watch the video, they were going around just harassing people at the protest. Like they're showing up armed and then just blatantly instigating trouble. They were literally shoving underage women and girls and like spraying mace at random people. I'm not kidding or making this up. This is what these militia dudes were doing at a completely peaceful protest, right? Like where these people are not, they're not burning a building down, they're not hurting anybody, they're not threatening the police. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, actually, go ahead. I will add on something that your viewers may not know, but go ahead.
Okay. And so these guys are just making trouble, right? So at one point, one of these militia guys like really shoves pretty hard an underage woman, right? And this guy's also spraying mace at people in the crowd randomly. They're around like at the same time, and so the crowd starts to chase him out. Fine, you know, like they're like yelling at him and chasing him out, and he's sort of like backing away and sort of, you know, screaming and acting hostile. He's clearly armed. They already know he has mace for sure, but he's clearly armed in other ways. All these militia guys have been heavily armed, right? And by the way, this guy's related to a ex-sheriff. Like he's like an ex-sheriff's son.
As soon as the guy, I think, got subdued, that was the first thing he screamed. He was like, "Do you know who my dad is? Do you know who my dad is?" Like,
my daddy.
Yeah. Wait, literally?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
He said, "My dad is XY."
His dad was the former Bernalillo County Sheriff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah. Again, the cops have been calling these guys friendlies at the protests. They were observed doing this over the radio, saying, "Oh, we got some friendlies over there on the roof," referring to these fucking militia guys standing with fucking AKs menacing people on a rooftop. Like crazy shit. Yeah. And so this guy's backing up, and then like the protesters kind of rush him. It's not clear exactly why they're trying to tackle him to the ground at exactly this moment, but he's already like, the cops fucking justify shooting a guy for, you know, looking away for 1 second during an interaction or whatever. To, you know, the people who are online trolling, and I've seen them already, who are saying, "Oh, the protesters attacked him." He was literally starting trouble from the beginning of this interaction. Just shut up. So the protesters finally kind of rush him to tackle him to the ground, and at that point he shoots one of them. The man that he shot is in stable but critical condition, and at this time the family did not want his name released, so I will not be saying that. But it's serious. Like it's a no joke situation. This guy has been shot, and it's not good. And so of course, fucking today, the mayor's like, "Oh, I guess we can get rid of this statue." Like, is this really what it takes?
Yes, literally. Like, yeah. Like I
no, I'm going to cut you off, Rachel. Actually, no, it doesn't require you to lay down your life. We need something called the state. I'm not going to use words that I want to use. The state to prosecute that individual and to prosecute the police as aiding and abetting in a terrorist act. They should be in Guantanamo Bay right now. And no, it shouldn't require some poor left-wing person to get shot in the face to bring the statue down. Number one, the statue should have been brought down during the night at just openly in a display of force. Two, the police that aided in this are aiding and abetting in the criminal act. There's audio and video. The DA needs to either prosecute them or be resigned. There should be people in front of the DA's house. That DA, I won't fully state what my feelings are about that, but that should be a militant protest outside the DA's house. I am comfortable saying that openly. The DA's wife and children should see that there are armed people outside the DA's house. And there should be, they should feel the way that those protesters feel. They should be physically intimidated, because apparently the Second Amendment rights that these people use should also be used by the vast majority of people who don't support acts of violence on peaceful protesters, which, by the way, is standard right-wing operating tactics around the world. When Donald Trump talks about fucking Antifa and this and that, Donald Trump is educated about world history. He's read Mein Kampf. He knows the history of Nazi Germany. He's aware that when there were peaceful protests that were done democratically, there were armed and roving gangs that killed and brutalized people that protested these things, and that there were other groups that were anti-fascist groups that fought those people in the streets to defend those innocent people. It's not the responsibility for this doesn't just rest with the cops and with the DA that won't prosecute. It also rests with the Democratic Party that is completely complicit in these acts of violence, because they do not work to protect innocent life. They do not work to protect these bystanders. There was obviously the police are corrupt. There was also no private security. And it's also somewhat on the backs of some of these rich libs that love to donate money to fucking the Black Lives Matter Foundation instead of Second Amendment groups that would have secured that area and kept those people safe, using extra legal but citizen and constitutional forces in ways that obviously our failed state does not do and clearly won't do. There should be a purge of the police department starting today. There should be a purge of the district attorney's office starting today. His family should feel physically intimidated in the same way that the governor of the state of Michigan felt physically intimidated when her office was physically occupied by bands of people carrying machine guns. That should be happening right now in New Mexico. And it's a shame that all the people here who are ready to posture and talk about peaceful protest and talk about damage to property, why they are not talking about the damage to these people's lives. And this guy that's in the hospital right now because he was physically assaulted. There needs to be not an escalation, but a meeting of force with force. And every day that isn't happening is a shame, not just on the civilian population who obviously they're peaceful people and aren't prepared for that, but to state actors that should be defending innocent life, and to the many virtue signaling forces of capital that know now, if they didn't know before, what the physical stakes are. They should know that and act accordingly. I'm done.
I mean, I completely agree with everything you just said. Like, you nailed it.
There ain't shit to add to it. I mean,
yeah, well, the only thing I wanted to add was just to say that when people said, oh, well, Donald Trump can't activate the military, things like that. When he gets up there and he makes these fascist speeches, this is who he's activating.
Correct.
These people are not waiting for another order. These people are not waiting for someone to overhead tell them it's time. They're saying, he says it's time. It's time, and they're getting out in the street and they're making fucking trouble for us.
Why would they, since they know they can act with legal impunity, send those? I'm gonna stay on Twitch, y'all. But Malcolm X had quotes about what should be done when people send your people to the cemetery. I'll leave it at that.
I agree with you substantially.
I'm gonna stay on Twitch, y'all. Twitch, you're not gonna get rid of me today.
You're not gonna be
it's damn close.
My fear is, and the question is here, I think, when we do this, which inevitably we're going to do, right? We are reaching this point where tensions are so high, people are so routinely being abused by the police. We have this almost stalemate right now between protesters and police officers, right? And you're hearing stories coming out about police morale being at an all-time low and officers quitting the force, right? So we're reaching this point where protesters throwing our bodies into their batons is, I think, reaching the limits of what they can handle, even in terms of living with themselves. But there's still this small, intensely militarized group of them.
It's not enough.
Are we at a point where, if and when they choose to escalate further and start dragging us out of our houses in the night, like, what are we going to do?
No, we're not.
We shouldn't do these things because of that. I think we should do these things, but I worry that we're not going to be prepared when they escalate in turn.
Oh, we're definitely not. Luckily, the left does have plenty of institutional power, although it's not the kind of institutional power that you want for this situation. We're clearly not prepared for an Indonesia situation. But that is there's so much red tape that you're not going to get like that kind of door-to-door situation. Luckily for all of us.
But I'm not sure that we need that. I'm not sure it's going to be officially sanctioned, right? We're talking about Oluwatoyin, who just appeared dead.
Listen,
I don't know.
This sounds so callous. I'm not talking about like individual tragic deaths. I'm talking about the overarching state versus citizen.
You're thinking like Kristallnacht.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to use. I don't want to really use that phrasing, but a situation of that kind. We're very lucky that the president is a complete incompetent boob, and has very little understanding tactically of what would be necessary to do that. He has no trust or support from the military. That was why when he came out here and tried to do his little action in D.C., the generals were like, what the hell? A situation where a Donald Trump had the full support of the military would be a much more dangerous situation. The military thinks he's a clown. The state governments in both parties thinks he's a clown. Any kind of thing that he tries to send down there on an official basis is also going to be treated like clown shit. And he's kind of like effectively a lame duck outside of his relationship to MAGA weirdos. That is a benefit to us because your average person who is like peacefully protesting these situations is not prepared for the kind of action that the militia 3%er type weirdos are prepared for. But it's not a hopeless situation where we need to talk about we must throw our bodies upon the forces of capital and throw our hands into the gears of the machine to stop this violence before it sacrifices the rest of us. No, we are in a better position than you think because the libs are dumb and ineffective, but their specialty is putting their hands in those gears anyway, in their own way. It's ultimately in the large sense that we're thinking of right now, it's going to be fine. The governor is going to bring the statue down, although it is too late. There will be political pressure against that DA. I don't know what the boots on the ground in New Mexico are going to be, but it will be made in a very slow, very methodical, but probably effective kind of way. We'll probably be all fine, despite our rage at this situation. Lau, you'd better not post that Chris Dorner meme. We can just say the Dorner memes are on deck. That's the mode that we're all in today.
Yeah.
Don't post. Listen, I don't want to say we're not a pro Dorner show. There's some Dorner vibes on deck right now, though. It's rough.
I would say my vibe is just like either the Confederate statues come down or everybody gets a fucking statue. Like, we gotta have statues for fucking everyone.
I thought you were gonna say that statue goes down or we all go down. We're all going down right now on all sides. I just want if there's a 12-foot tall Confederate statue, I want a 24-foot tall anatomically proportioned Barack Obama standing right over it. That's all I'm saying.
Just directly. Yep. Yeah.
Just like right, so the head of his dick is like spirit person.
I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're here to make that. Maybe instead of a statue, we've got New Mexico is a family place. Maybe there's like a fountain. Maybe there's some sprinkles. Maybe like the kids can play in the sprinkles. I don't know.
Yeah, like one of those like, water things would have like the fountains that come out of the ground.
We don't need to waste water here. Let me just stop that in its
play in an Obama themed penis fountain. That's all I'm saying. All right, I'm out of here.
Hologram Tupac, right? When he made his debut in Coachella, they should do like hologram Confederate generals just losing battles. I think that would be a perfectly good substitute, right?
Yeah.
At least it's historically accurate.
I think that's totally rad. General Grant, we can bring General Grant back. If we can have conquistadors in New Mexico, which is halfway across the damn planet, we can make a monument to General Sherman in New Mexico, just a holographic monument of General Sherman just riding. That's totally fine. We are gonna get banned from Twitch. I'm in full Leia mood.
Yeah, the vibes are so spicy today.
But
how could they not do this? Is ridiculous.
Yeah,
this is fucking ridiculous. I cannot believe that this happened just like not even down, like hardly down the street from me. Like it's crazy. It's fucking nuts that this shit is happening. Like, and this is just so normal now. This is so normal that every
y'all are lucky.
Day
y'all are lucky. Y'all hit a white dude. Because if y'all had hit a black dude, y'all would get a very different response in these times, New Mexico. Let me shut the fuck up. I'm gonna put myself on mute for about 5 minutes. Y'all live. I'm just gonna nod while y'all talk.
Man.
Well, I said explicitly that every single one of us fundamentally agrees with Brandon.
Black people have access to buses. We can go over there just because we ain't hanging out in New Mexico all the time. We can. Plane tickets are cheap. It's the coronavirus era. We can pull up on y'all, New Mexico. Stop fucking playing. All right, that's it.
I think, it's, look.
This is the one time I agree with this person's comment. Usually they get on here and post wax up onto the channel. The boys will come for you. It is a true fact. All right, go ahead.
Like Brandon's saying, it's time to start, behaving like these people are going to keep showing up and behaving violently towards us, and that we have to have a response to that. That isn't just us getting fucking shot. And if the police aren't going to fucking do anything, then that means that we have to be ready to do some things. And I will say that at this protest, I saw some footage of the street medics. They were fucking on it, people. Let me tell you something. This is what we're talking about. When we talk about meeting force with force, we're talking about this kind of shit. We're talking about this kind of real action of people being out there, ready to actually do some shit, and respond to this shit when the emergency people are not going to fucking do shit for you because they have already sided with the oppressor.
Joe Biden, if you're watching this, listen, I know you're not going to give us Medicare, but I also know that you're a dick. And I know that when there's an opportunity to be a dick, you reach for it. Right now, I'm leaning toward Gloria La-Riva, but you tell me you're gonna put these boys in Gitmo. I just want a material benefit for my vote. That's a material benefit. You promised to put these guys in Gitmo. I'm gonna go
take everybody that's in Gitmo now out. Put these guys in. Now you got my vote. There you go.
You don't quite have my vote, but I'm like, not bad. I'm thinking about it. I'm fucking with it. Maybe.
Under those circumstances, even I might vote for Joe.
Persona management, are they acute angles? All right, go ahead.
The street medics are amazing. The ones here, I have not met these people that I saw at the protest before, but they seem like they are fucking with it. Whoever they are, I don't know if they're with a group or what, but they are fucking really with it, and they were on it immediately when this guy got shot. No one could be more on it than this. And that's what we need right now. We need all of us to be in that mindset of we got to be on it. We can't just
we don't need to be in the street medic. You said this twice, so I'm going to cut you off. We don't need to be in the street medic mindset. We need to be in the Malcolm X mindset.
I agree with you, but what I'm saying is
the second half. Let's do it.
It's all related is what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is we have to be ready to respond to this shit. What I'm saying is that all too often when this shit goes down at protests, everybody's standing around what are we going to do now? That we have to move on. We have to be ready so that when this shit goes down at the protest, we had a plan and that we were equipped for that plan. You decide what that equipment is. I'm not going to tell anybody what that equipment is, but you decide. But we need to have a plan and be equipped for those plans because this shit is too fucking real.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that we can't realistically, we're not going to have epic Hong Kong riot tactics. I know Rachel's super into that. I'm just saying,
no, I'm not. I have much more. All right, let me get my take. All right, so we have Brandon's thesis, Kennedy's antithesis. Right, we're gonna synthesize these things. We need all of them. Actually, we need soldiers, we need medics, we need doctors, we need farmers, we need carpenters. We need to be really taking this seriously as a kind of war that we are engaged in. If we continue on as though the mechanisms of capitalism are going to actually help us here, as though the system of electoral politics that was created by the same people with their boots on our necks is going to help us here, we're never going to make it out. We have to do all of these things. We need to have people who are willing to go out holding guns. We need to have people who are willing to go out and be medics. We need to have people who are going to grow food for our troops. Like, we actually have to become militarized here. And that is a much larger thing than just having people with guns who are ready to shoot. You know,
I think the point is the militancy to me, for sure.
Are there, but every single one of us needs to be willing to fucking die for this. We need to accept that's a real, serious, and a possible outcome of continuing to stand up for what's right.
I think we just have different messaging. Don't tell anybody that they're gonna die.
Well, no, but I mean, I think, I don't want to bullshit people about it, right? Like,
bullshit people.
They're going to keep killing us. And that's what Kennedy's saying. And that's what you're saying, too, ultimately. They're going to keep killing.
No, what I'm saying is, like, we're lucky because we have someone who is widely despised and incompetent and does not even have, like, the basic knowledge of how to leverage the tools of state power. We all have different philosophies, like if Leia was here. I believe in leveraging the tools of state power. That state power is completely dissolved right now. Donald Trump is stuck in a bunker because he was scared of protesters. Like, this is why he's so trying to stir up this militancy. It's not because he is trying to become a dictator. He's Duterte. He's desperate. He's intimidated. That does not necessarily mean that we need to escalate at a level like above, because like I said, and like I think we all agree, we, the majority of us who are, and I include the libs in this, just people with consciousness, are not prepared for a sudden escalation of violence at that scale. Luckily, the people who are prepared for violence at that scale are an extremely diminished minority of weirdos, and we have the ability to corral them before they can corral us. If we are intelligent, we do need to take this shit seriously and start like getting prepped and playing whatever we know our role can be. But I hope that people take this in the right spirit, because obviously anybody who is killed or hurt or does anything at any of these actions is an extreme human tragedy. However, we as a movement do not need to panic because a person was harmed. We need to be prepared and take this shit seriously.
We need to accept the risks, you know?
Like, we need to accept the risks, but I also don't want us to be alarmist. We're very...
when you're accepting the risk, you're not alarmist about it. You're walking with eyes open, understanding like, yeah, this could happen. This is plausible.
We are fortunate. We are fortunate because we could have an enemy that is much smarter than the enemy that we have now. And I think a lot of y'all, when y'all saw Donald Trump get elected, and y'all thought in your heads, especially if you're like in a vulnerable community, I especially mean Muslim and Latino, but it could be like LGBT, it could be a whole host of people. We're like, what the fuck is going to go down these next 4 years? And it turns out Donald Trump used a lot of very violent rhetoric, used a lot of very disgusting rhetoric, but he's a dipshit who doesn't fully know what he's doing.
Well, he doesn't.
A person can do a lot of damage by accident, not knowing what they're doing. But
he's not willing to get his hands dirty like that, you know?
Yeah, he's not really about the shit like Duterte is about the shit, or like I could name other names. He's not really about the shit.
Bolsonaro.
I think that's why Biden is such a fucking crisis, right?
Or Putin or Bolsonaro. We didn't elect him like that. Yeah.
Donald Trump just is looking to get advantage for himself. All he cares about is number one. And he's sympathetic towards like a lot of fascist stuff, but he isn't actually he doesn't have like a deep concept of instituting fascism. You know? He's just a guy who likes to just rile people up, and the people that he can rile up with the most success are fucking MAGA chuds with assault rifles, which sucks. But it's not the end of the absolute world, like Brandon is saying, in terms of like if Donald Trump was effective at controlling the U.S. military, we would be in such a scarier situation. We can stop this. We can tell these fascists to fuck off. There's not enough of them, folks. There really aren't. There's so many more of us, and there's more of us every day because people right now are opening their fucking eyes as this shit goes on around them, and they say, wow, I need to fucking move a little left here and listen to what these people over here are saying about some of this shit, because this shit is happening. All this shit that they're describing is fucking happening.
And step one, do not fucking sell out Antifa. you idiots. Shut the fuck, like, regardless of your feeling. Like, I had the tweet that went very successful a couple of days ago. Shut the fuck up about what race burnt the Wendy's. That's coon shit. Shut the fuck up about Antifa. Regardless of your feelings about them, I think they're rad. But if you have other opposite feelings, at you fucking libs that are watching this show, shut the fuck up. Do not do the whole, they're banned, this isn't, but unless you are in a position where you strategically need to say that, like you're a candidate for a Senate or something, and you need, like, you've got to say the word, I don't mind that. But if you're like a regular poster, shut up. Just keep your mouth shut. Because you need a certain amount of people who are willing to get their hands dirty to prevent shit like this from happening. And it's not like Antifa is gunning people down in the streets. Or
would.
Correct. I
think there's a tendency, you know, we've talked about this before, Brandon, like last week. You know, I think there's a tendency for people to get really caught up in this idea of, we got to start looking at everybody who's coming to these protests and questioning their motives. Don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. You can see who the bad actors are when they arrive, usually, or they will reveal themselves. Okay?
Yeah. Like, if you see somebody who's obviously a right-wing dipshit and is instigating your like, by all means, hold that person up. But if you see somebody and it's like they're white and they act weird and they're doing too much, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Because like, you've gotten more political change like in the last 2 weeks with people acting grimy in ways that are not like, are not ways that you would want to advocate for politically. Then maybe you've gotten in years of like trying to get Nancy Pelosi to fucking do some shit for you.
Well, and that's exactly why I keep saying, like, I don't understand why people are so invested in electoral solutions to these problems. Like, every single massive gain we have seen in the last several years has been because of collective action.
Yeah, but those, well,
it's like when the Delta fucking teams went on strike, when the Delta Union went on strike and like they just shut down like air travel and got what they wanted that way, or when people started burning shit down and get what they want that way, we see directly how these kinds of changes that we need that can't wait will continue waiting until we do something about it directly. And that's why I'm just like, why are we wasting our time trying to win elections and ask nicely?
Because my goal, I wonder how much of this I can say on Twitch. Give me like 5 seconds.
Okay.
My goal is an institutional control of the political process. That can only be controlled by the committees, the subcommittees, the seats, the legal process. Because once you control the legal process, all of whatever the popular energy goes, it will drip in a way that benefits you no matter what. Burning shit can go the other way very easily. Beating somebody up can go the other way very easily. Wait, you shut up. You shut up. No. Let me be very clear with you. We can get kicked off of Twitch tomorrow. I don't care about Twitch at all as a platform. We're on Twitter. We're on Periscope, and they don't ban people anyway. So Twitch.
We also stream on YouTube, where it's much harder to get banned.
YouTube doesn't ban people either. So Twitch, okay. But anyway, you'll just have to move somewhere else when and if that goes down. But I also, like, when I become elected president, I don't want them to find my video like 10 years ago and be like, did you say this? And then I have to denounce and reject myself. But anyway,
did you support Chris Dorner?
No, I didn't say that. I just said that was the vibe of the day. But anyway.
That doesn't change the way it's going to play when they blast it on CNN, right?
I'm smart. I'll have Nina Turner or somebody. They'll get around it. It'll be fun.
Like Bernie?
Yeah. Bernie won't even be here by the time I'm doing all that. Bernie we'll all be, in fact, the libs will be like, I love Bernie. Bernie was my guy. The same people that are like shitting on him right now. But anyway, all that to the side. The goal is institutional power, where whatever the popular emotion is at the time, you still control the outcome. Like, in the same way that all that burning shit down got you solutions, but the institutions are still offering you like lib shit. I want, if the things go the other way, sorry, but the institutions are fucking locked down because we've been kicking your ass for the last 20 years. All these Zoomers have just been like, we run the shit now. So that's the end goal. So I don't want us to like go, Patui, I want us to do what we can do now with the end goal of, in every level, there's an institutional control that benefits people regardless of reaction, counter-reaction, la, 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 la.
Okay, my point is not that we should not have control of the institutions. I agree. My point is that in order to get control of the institutions, we have to just build our own. Like, we're not going to be able to piggyback off of theirs when every single step of the way, like you are saying, they designed their institutions to keep power in their hands.
I hear you. We are in mostly agreement on that, and we'll nitpick the slices where we don't agree on a totally different episode.
We'll divide the left later.
I just want to say,
this is why I like you. Divide the left later. Like, later. Left, divide yourself later.
That's exactly.
You have the power to fucking divide. Then you do it.
Yes. Yes. It's exactly kind of what I wanted to get at. I think that for far too long, there has been a divide between you are either an electoral leftist or you're an activist leftist. We got to stop that, in my opinion. Listen, you want to talk to me about like my personal idyllic society? Let's make more Chazzes. I'm anarchic as fuck. Let's do it. But until that day actually comes, there's also the matter of like, what can we do right now to reduce harm? What can we do right now to make things in some way better?
Which to be fair, I agree with.
And I feel like we can never lose sight of that, like, of both, basically. Like, when you lose sight of one or the other, you start to, in my opinion, kind of have like some political trouble. And so when people are saying, oh, it's one or the other, I just want to say, like, I think the most important thing is we elect people that are amenable to listening to like popular protest and things like that. And then we do the protest. You do both. Like, you put the pressure on the people, but you also put people in office that are going to respond in some way to that pressure. Ted Cruz does not give a shit about people protesting. You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of people. Nancy Pelosi does not give a shit about people protesting. There are plenty of people in office right now who it doesn't matter. You could make up any headline that's going to come out tomorrow about what happens at these protests, and they are not going to care. No matter how brutal that headline is. You could say tomorrow, the cops fucking just completely, just brutalized the protesters in LA and like killed 10 people last night. And Nancy Pelosi would still not give a shit. So when it comes down to it at the end of the day, it's like, I think that it's like, we kind of have to do both is where I like tend to fall with it. Because again, it's like, we have to have people in office that actually are capable of giving a shit. But at the same time, we can never trust them. They will never be trustworthy. It doesn't matter how good they were on the campaign trail. It doesn't matter how much we like them. It doesn't matter even if they're your best friend. And outside of when they're fucking serving in office, you fucking play cards with them. You still need to protest against them, because if you don't put the pressure on them, then they will not do shit.
I agree with you. I also wanted to say, though, like, that's, like, I'm never going to stop somebody from getting involved in electoral politics. I think that there's something inherently useful to the electoral process in as much as it is a giant platform to talk about ideas and to try and push the Overton window somewhere else, right? But it's not enough. And that's really all I'm saying, is it is not enough. Mm-hmm. And we need to start expanding our vision of this into something much bigger and much more systemic and much more oriented towards building our own institutions.
This should be a totally separate episode. We can have like a "Don't Boo Vote" as the episode. We can talk about how much we can vote. I don't trust. This is weird for someone who is like, state power is very important, but I don't trust movements either. Like, I don't trust people.
Sure.
Groups of people can also be shitty. Sure. If you look at literally any institution, you're just choosing the set of flaws that you want. There's no, as long as we have human beings, there's going to be injustice. So the issue for us is, can we squeeze this injustice into a form that can be managed, or can we decentralize this injustice in a way that it's not all tied in together and stacking on top of each other, which is what our current system is, where each injustice kind of supports the other one. Mm-hmm. Can we decentralize injustice? And then we have a whole conversation about anarchism, and that's a whole different thing. That's for later.
Well, to be clear, in spite of my like broadly anarchist ideals, like, I'm not so fucking naive as to believe that like anarchy is strictly possible, right? Like, it's a utopian ideal. But the reason we have utopian ideals and use utopian ideals is because setting a goal we cannot reach gives us a reason to keep striving to improve, and it keeps us from getting complacent, you know? And these things are all useful. The idea of a perfect democracy or perfect anarchy, like, these things exist because they have a certain utility as ideas.
So we're going to make a triangle, and the triangle will have like a perfect dictatorship, like in Greece. We'll have perfect democracy. We'll have perfect anarchy, and we all have to map ourselves on.
Exactly. It'll be the new political alignment chart, actually.
Sure, that sounds great.
No, but I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you substantially. I just really want people to understand and feel motivated to do things that are not strictly electoral work.
Absolutely.
You know, we need everybody. We need our doctors. We need our fucking lawyers. I just heard that there are like tens of thousands of law students who are having meltdowns because they're realizing how fucked the entire government is. We need them on board to help us like take that apart from the inside. You know, we need people who are willing to farm food. We need everybody. We also need some very important things. We need someone to make video games that are radicalized children, and we also need people to make spaceships so we can get the fuck out of here. All right? Listen, I feel like if Elon Musk is really dumb and really gullible, and I feel like if you just got him like in a room for like a little while with a couple of like hot leftists, you could probably convince him to give us spaceships.
He's got to make the spaceships. He doesn't make the spaceships. That's his problem.
Well, we wanted to make the spaceships because then they would just explode when we hit the atmosphere. Like,
yeah, that's the problem.
We don't want those.
What's your opinion on the Armenian flag? We support full freedom and autonomy for the Armenian people. I don't know if is there a flag controversy? I have no idea. Are you talking about like our aesthetic opinion of it? Do we care about like, does it look good?
Yeah, is there like some backstory here that I don't know about? Or is it just a meme? Maybe it's
got to be something that's like
I think it's just some, you know.
It's got to be something about the flag because otherwise
I'm Googling this because
they would ask, what do you think about Armenians or Armenia?
Fine.
This is a cool question. I mean, it's not something we think about all the time. I like I like questions that we don't get every day.
They adopted it in the month of my birth. That's cool.
What's it look like?
Here, it's just like 3 stripes. It's just like red, yellow, and gold. Or sorry, apricot.
Okay, I'm fine with it. So yeah, I'm not at my usual location right now, obviously. But you know, I'm organizing. I'm out in the street, so I gotta come and stream from wherever I'm at, and that's just how it is. So
there's a reason why you see me for weeks, yeah.
But people need me. We're sitting here talking about the Confederacy, and we're gonna just have like, you know, Kennedy and Rachel talking about the Confederacy. I do have a nice beard. I'm at like the halfway stage. Usually, I either grow the shit out like basically my 2 looks are like fucking huge afro and a huge beard, or I'm like shaved. Diabetes, so it's problematic. You got to get that together. That's kind of funny. Diabetes, so you're on notice. Tone it down, buddy. African nationalist vibes. I don't know, man. I believe that we're free when we're all free. African nationalists are fine with me though. We all got to get free at the same time, in my opinion. But yeah, the Pan-African movement was okay with me. Obviously, like the beef that they had with the like American labor movement in the 60s and all that shit, that's old shit. So I don't see a point in arguing about Philip Randolph versus Marcus Garvey anymore. That's old shit. Yeah, Marcus Garvey was fine. Marcus Garvey squad. Yeah, I see you.
I just want to say the modern Pan-Africanists that I've met are pretty intersectional in terms of like they have their own thing that's like their thing, but like they work with other groups and like they're not like they don't show up like, oh, I guess we'll work with you white protesters.
Yeah, one of my core political philosophies is very little matters. Which is like most people who are in the politics think everything matters and get extremely mad about every like sub issue.
We need to just get more absurdists into politics, frankly. Like, there's already plenty of nihilists. It's the entire like Republican Party. There's plenty of liberals, right? That's the entire Democratic Party. What we really need is absurdists who understand that nothing fucking matters, and therefore it's up to us to figure out what matters because we're making it up as we go along anyway.
No one matters.
But I would
1%. Am I right, lads? Unless you mean like the 1% of hottest podcasters, in which case that's us, and we do matter. Thank you.
I would like to speak though for the absurdists who think things do matter, because it's just as absurd as the absurdists who think that
nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
Damn.
It's absurd in its own light. You're correct.
1% soy in my ice cream. I don't agree with that. Soy's in a lot of things, man. Listen. Soy chat. Oh, you made
we got this.
Wait, we got to get soy chat over. Soy chat's done. Yeah, we might have to take this for the next episode that everybody's here on. That's a good,
for sure.
A good political compass.
See, all the centrists are in the middle, right? That's
correct.
That's how it goes, right?
No, the centrists are actually in a hold on. The centrists are actually in a circle outside of this because these are extreme beliefs, and on this compass, the center is outside of the extreme beliefs.
No, I thought that,
and the extreme beliefs are in the center.
So what we gotta do is we have to illustrate this like in the same way that like the 3-point concept of love is illustrated. We got to figure out what's on the arm of the triangle. We got to figure out like what's on the middle. Like what each one by itself is.
There's gonna be a lot of sacred geometry involved in this.
Can we map this
I do have a tablet.
To the McDonald's meme of orders of black coffee.
Then the cops shoot
it. Dictatorship. We have food at home. I don't know. Maybe dictatorship is McDonald's.
Are we gonna get banned for this?
Yes. Get out of here. Get him out of here.
All right, I'm gonna stop.
I do want to do this right quick. Right quick. Yeah. Lau got the drawing tablet. Twitter artist. Lau.
Actually, I play Doom Eternal. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, Ren is the Animal Crossing person. Actually, Kennedy, don't you?
I do like Tetris.
Who here plays Animal Crossing? Is it Leia and Ren?
John, actually. Leia, yeah. John plays Animal Crossing like religiously. He's got
the people who aren't here.
Diabetes Hose, you were close. I'm really a Destiny player. I'm a PlayStation person more than
Tetris gang. Tetris gang.
Yeah, but I am a FPS Tetris / Destiny / Borderlands.
I mean, Tetris is really fucking fun. Like, you
were close. But yeah, Lau is a very talented artist and was running the Orb Gang channel long before he hooked up with us. Lau's the GOAT. We love Lau. Excellent.
Diabetes Host, join the Discord and I'll think about it.
Join the Discord. We don't play Kerbal Space Program.
I do. That's me. That's a me.
Kennedy
thing.
does.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really good at it, actually. You should know this, Brandon. I post pictures from my.
Oh yeah. I was thinking of Factorio at the moment, but yeah,
that's been my obsession lately.
Yeah. And there's also
that one mobile game you were like really obsessed with, like gassing up for like 5 minutes.
Me?
You're saying everybody was mad because the graphics were good?
Oh, Raid Shadow Legends. We're a Raid Shadow Legends podcast.
God damn it, no!
This podcast is sponsored. Yep.
We're sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Sponsored by Conquest, Darkness.
Human organization gathering without politics. Politics are inherently baked into the way human beings relate to each other.
I'm posting the Discord invite. Hold on.
They're essentially about political narrative, and yes, we sure are. And politics are essentially about narrative and trying to persuade people to do things together. There is no version of human society that does not also have politics.
Can I just say, this is in response to something you said earlier, Rachel, that I actually view things the opposite in terms of anarchism in a certain kind of way. Not really like in a way that it is like truly oppositional, like it's antagonistically oppositional. But when you say that there's like an ideal anarchism, I actually just think that all interactions are anarchic.
Right, but when we talk about
And,
like society-wide anarchy, right? This idea of like perfect like society that functions exclusively around the non-aggression pact or whatever, like that kind of anarchy, like the, you know, very like we're going to build entire societies off of this style of anarchy. I think that's utopian.
And I do agree with that.
Relate to people as an equally valued human being, regardless. That's doable.
I think sometimes
that's the same kind of thing.
Sure, but I think sometimes people can't always like merge the concept, and I know you're not one of those people, but I know that people watching might be, not know a lot about anarchist theory. That people can't always merge the concept between that utopian ideal and like what we have now. And what I want to encourage people always, one of the reasons, like I say, that I engage with the system as is because all interactions are anarchic, in the sense that everything functions on our handshakes, on our agreement with the system. These protests have been proof, in fact, of the fact that like without our consent, the system does not work. And that is how society functions. People either consent to it or not. And if we continue to have a society that will not serve anyone, then people will not consent to it and they will form their own societies. And that
I think that there's a lot of shades between like people consent to be governed and where that consent comes from. You know, like manufactured consent is real.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
Like politics is all narrative, right? Like you can persuade people to believe.
It's all narrative. And I'm here to persuade you, lovely audience, to be left wing, as always.
Yeah,
and so have we all been.
I will just say Chris, you are funny as hell. I will just say politics is the determination of who gets to live in freedom and dignity, and therefore it's not like we can't opt out of that discussion. Like if you don't consent to politics, winter tactics. If you don't consent to politics will be inflicted on you, which is really like. No shit, no cap.
It's true. It's true. I'm laughing. It's fucking accurate.
Inflicted on you. So you're either doing politics or you're defending yourself. One or the other. We got to choose. And the more of us choose to take this shit on affirmatively, this sounds like lip shit, but whatever. The more of us choose to partake in that and defend ourselves affirmatively through that process, the better off we are as a collective, in my opinion.
And that's the only answer, right? Collective action, every single person pulling their weight. The question is not whether that is the solution. The question is how do we create the conditions where people are willing and able to take that weight on?
Well, no, none of that. Okay.
This has been a fantastic stream. I think we should probably wrap it up unless Brandon has one more like nuclear fire take that he's got to get out, which I suspect might be the case.
Everybody read the autobiography of Malcolm X, especially if you are a person of color, because not only are we talking about it's not about political philosophy exclusively. It's more about how you have been programmed with self-hatred. And Malcolm X spends about half the book talking about his life and his observations and waking up to the fact that he had like extreme amounts of self-hatred culturally programmed into him, and how he cleansed himself of that self-hatred and became a full independent human being. Anybody should read that. Not even like if you're white, you should read it too. Like everybody should read that book. You may not agree with every single solution that he proposes, but in the same way that Louis Farrakhan killed him. I don't even think like maybe you have a better, more hotter theory. We can talk about that later. Yeah, Farrakhan killed him.
We could do a whole ep on that.
The CIA didn't. I don't believe the CIA did it. I think sometimes we do it to ourselves, but that's a whole different episode. Over clout, and that
Farrakhan is a very sketchy individual too.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, let's leave that there.
Let's leave that.
No, Chris, diabetes. Explain it to Kira off the stream because we'll talk about that at another time. Yeah.
For sure.
I'm glad that you said everybody should read that, though, because seriously, I think at this point, every American has internalized a certain amount of self-hatred unless you were born into the ruling class.
That's correct.
The ruling class are taught to, kind of a slightly different set of rules. Some of them are still taught to hate themselves because a lot of people are just plain destructive. And even if they're part of the ruling class, they're still abusive people regardless. But a lot of people in the ruling class, teach their offspring that you're going to grow up to rule the world. And then they do. Most poor people, on the other hand, or working class people, have been taught to hate themselves to some extent, regardless of race, or even if you are a cishet and everything is in your fucking advantage. So I agree with Brandon. Everybody should be reading the biography of Malcolm X.
What the fuck? You better get off this damn stream. You're calling me a dirty lib. This is my damn show. I put the shit together. I will find whoever you are. I will find you, and I will. You're lucky that I'm too lazy to even get on Twitch. I don't like any of y'all Twitch people, by the way. Y'all are lucky I don't just get on Twitch.
Don't forget what kind of vibes we have today.
You would get banned so hard. I'm in a Dorner kind of mood right now. Don't fuck around, because I will remove you from the stream.
Lau, you have any final hot takes?
Oh man. I just have a hot meme, but it's gonna get us.
You can't post it. Wait, who is Abigail Shapiro? Can we do that last? Can we put
Abigail Shapiro is Ben Shapiro's big titty sister, and she's pretty fucking cute, actually. I also understand that apparently she hates him and thinks he's a piece of shit, in which case she's also cool.
Oh, I think I've seen her before.
Yeah, she's like very objectively good looking, and she got big titties. Like
I always
big Jewish titties.
All right. We're wrapping this up. We have been Not Safe for Wonks. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. It has been a blast. We will be back with another stream tomorrow at 4 Eastern, as usual. If you do not follow us on Twitter, it's at NSFWonks. If you have not checked out the Patreon, it's patreon.com/notsafe. Patreon.com/notsafe is the shit. We have all the cool stuff over there. You don't want to miss it. We are definitely going to get banned from Twitch after this stream. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at NSFWonks.
Word? Wow, that's his sister?
Yeah, that's his sister. She's hot as
fuck. Wow. Wow.
Can you believe we're missing out on her?
Bruh.
Like I trade her for like Ben Shapiro any day.
You gotta get one of the better
people are demanding a Lau show. Lau and I are working on a new thing.
Yeah,
Lau and I are working on a new thing. It's very philosophical. It's very spiritual. It's all the stuff that Lau loves to talk about.
Yeah, and also like Lau had a show. He's got many VODs.
Yeah,
right? Lau,
he's on like 3 episodes with us too. Like go back through our podcast history if you want to hear some hot Lau takes.
Why are we talking? Just
anyway.
Abigail Shapiro, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's just look at that for a few more seconds. Can we zoom? Is that weird? Zoom? Yeah, what do we okay. Whatever. Yeah, there we go. Problematic. Okay. No, I want to see your face. I don't want to